Okay. Can we begin our journey for today? I'll talk about Vardha. I'll talk about what we did yesterday, 10-15 minutes, and then we'll move forward. Yes. Okay. Now, what did we do yesterday? We discussed quite a lot of small things, but a very important question with regards to Bose and Gandhi. But our last discussion was that the Second World War had started. And Lithgow had created his what is called as war cabinet. And war cabinet basically was to get the viceroy or to get Indian support to the viceroy. So it was technically the viceroy plus Indian parties. And Nehru created this concept that if they wanted the cooperation of INC in this war cabinet, there were certain conditions. We already saw that Gandhi had said no conditions. Bose had already left the INC itself, forward bloc, and he'll be back today. We'll discuss him. And the INC therefore kept the following demands, and that was based on what is called the Wardha resolution. But the Wardha resolution was basically an CWC meeting plus other important personalities. And they came to the conclusion that in order to join the war cabinet, what basically is important is that you give us some concessions, and the concession should be you tell us your aim after the war, and you also give us some form of change in the executive council right now. So you have to show us that you really mean what you actually say. And this was decided that after the war, you need to tell us the aim and change in executive council. Therefore, now what happens is that Lithgow will fully ignore this and technically give negative concept or negatively respond to this. He already had started his romance with Jinnah, and basically the Muslim League had now entered into the war cabinet, and the way Lithgow realized that Jinnah was the answer to Nehru, Gandhi, and Bose was basically the concept of he knowing that he had finally found somebody who could counter the INC. Lithgow said that maximum, I'll give you a consultative committee, and once the response from Lithgow is negative to all of these demands, at the Ramgarh session, whilst reiterating that what India wants is complete independence, the concept was that the INC asked all its ministers and all its MLAs and the central legislative members to resign, and that leads to the resignation of all people who had got elected during 1935-36 or 36-37. So basically we stopped here, that Congress had now fully cut off its understanding with the government. Viceroy had now been isolated, and generally the Congress had taken a call that we will not. This happens in 1940. So basically, by the fourth decade of the decade in which we get independence, the Congress has now fully broken down its relationship with the Viceroy. It has asked all its members to resign, and the Ramgarh conference, in that sense, INC and Ramgarh, basically confirms that there can be no cooperation. So I hope that this basic summary gives you an understanding that simply the fact of the matter is that Wardha resolution and Ramgarh are basically the way the Congress was trying to work out something with the war cabinet or with Lithgow. But the overall conclusion is basically Lithgow doesn't really care. Lithgow doesn't really care. Lithgow doesn't care. Hi, Jashanto Priya. Welcome. But you've joined when we've already reached 1940. So Lilithgow doesn't really care, does not care about any of this. He does not care any of this. CWC means Congress Working Committee. Congress Working Committee. Now, can I take the story forward? Can I take the story forward? Yes? Great. So we have reached the year 1940. If you remember, we started in 1613 and even before that, 1499. And we finally come to the decade in which we get independence, 1488, if you add Bartholomew Diaz to it. So we've traversed quite a lot. Quite a lot. Yes, Abhinav, you're right about that. And now this decade, which is called 1940 to 47, you need to understand one thing very, very clearly. I will discuss August offer. August offer is not known as Ramgarh session. Ramgarh session is Ramgarh session. August offer, I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you. Wait. Now, this decade, which is called 40 to 47, whilst 1885 to 1915 is called moderate, and from 1915 to 1885 to 1905 is moderate, and 1905 to 1915 is extremists, and 1915 to 1940 is considered Gandhian phase. This period of 7 years, basically, it's the era of people's movement. Gandhi really had no real control. Gandhi had no control over most of the events. Over most of the events. And that you will see after the Quit India movement. The Quit India movement. So this for these 7 years basically are considered very, very important and very, very organic, meaning people will start to appropriate the concept of nationalism and develop their own conception of nationalism. Now, what I need to discuss with you first is what was happening in the war, because that has a very important bearing on what is going to be offered to India in the next 3 years, 40, 41 and 42. So can we discuss what is actually happening in the Second World War? Because that context is very, very important. Everybody is here. Everybody understands what we are doing. We reached Ramgarh. We've reached 1940. Simply what has happened is that the British Prime Minister, who is Churchill at this point of time, and the Viceroy are not ready to negotiate. And the way this next offer is going to come, you need to understand the concept of the Second World War. So in the Second World War, and I will teach this quite a lot. I'll give you the timeline of the not right now. Once I've covered till we call Cripps mission. The Second World War, basically, when I'll teach you in world history, a lot of detail with regards to that. But there are phases in this war. Between 1939 to 41, it's Germany, Italy and Japan versus Britain, France, the USA and the USSR. Now, the period between 39 to 41 is basically when Germany had an upper hand in the war. Hitler at this point of time was dominating left, right and center. The simple point of the matter was that Germany, nobody had an answer to how Germany was fighting at this point of time. And 1942 is the year of the Japanese. which is the Japanese will start to dominate in Asia. In Asia. So, Lokeshwaran will talk about that. Japanese will enter via Pearl Harbor. That's a separate issue altogether. But it is very safe to assume that would the Japanese be on the would the British be on the front foot or the back foot when it comes to this period between 39 to 42? It would be on the back foot. Basically, it's more or less getting dominated by the Germans and later the Japanese. And I'll discuss the Japanese context also. But what is even more important is that Britain has an ally called the USA, the United States of America. And the US was very clear about what Britain was doing in the war. And whilst Churchill, who's the Prime Minister, very celebrated but one of the worst characters for India, Churchill, whilst Churchill technically never gave anything to India, the US said very simply, Roosevelt said that why is that you talk about so much democracy, but you don't give Indians any democracy? And the US pressure was always there on Churchill. There was a pressure on Churchill to prove that Hitler and Churchill were different. Because the US could easily say that, how are you different? If Hitler is killing Jews, then you are killing Indians. So how are you different? How are you a different power? How are you this democracy epitome? So now the Americans create a lot of pressure on Churchill that you show us that you are not Hitler. And between 39 to 42, as it is, Hitler is dominating and later Japanese will also come into the fore. So a lot of students, a lot of teachers, a lot of people rather study modern India in just modern Indian context. But in order to understand 40 to 47 period, rather 39 to 47 period, you need to look further, which is what is happening in the world. So what I want you to understand here is that when the August offer, individual satyagraha and Cripps mission, rather August offer and Cripps mission will come, it is not an organic or what we call as a voluntary act of Churchill. Churchill, both August offer is basically 1940 and 1942, August offer and Cripps mission. What I'm trying to say is the larger context here is all are under compulsion. All are under compulsion. What is common to both of them is that Britain was under a lot of pressure to get Indian support and prove that it was not like Germany and Hitler. Again, I am telling you, this is also the period 39 to 42, where Britain is on the back foot, And this is the basic point, that Britain is on the back foot because Germany is dominating. And that domination needs to be understood very, very clearly. Very, very clearly. Simply, again, I'm repeating myself. The Second World War has a lot of phases, 4 phases rather. I will tell you why it is called an offer. You don't get caught up there. You please need to understand this is Second World War is the context for the August offer and Cripps mission. Germany, Italy, Japan, Britain, France, USA and USSR were fighting the Second World War. And Hitler had a major upper hand in the first period, which is called Blitzkrieg period. And I will discuss everything with you in world history when we will discuss it. How he was going from the Battle of France to Battle of Britain. He was stuck in Britain. Then he went to Greece and Egypt. Then he turned toward Operation Barbarossa, Russia. We'll discuss all of that. How Pearl Harbor will be introduced, why America is going to enter. We'll discuss everything. That is my promise to you. The basic point of the matter is, trust me that Germany has an upper hand in the initial period, and Japan also is now becoming more and more aggressive in Asia. And Japan is a very ruthless power. Very, very ruthless. They mostly only know how to kill. Very ruthless when it comes to imperialistic power. And Japanese are much, much, much worse. If Britain is basically poison, Japanese are poison which kills you instantly. So, basic point of the matter, again, please try to understand this. This is the larger context I'm trying to argue, that basically Churchill was no angel. Churchill was the worst personality for India, and Linlithgow and Churchill will offer us these two offers, August offer and Cripps mission, but that is all under compulsion. Can we agree to this much? If we can agree to this much, then we discuss what is August offer and Cripps mission. Yes? It's a monarchy chalu wali. Okay. Now, what is August offer? (1940). Now, when we talk about August offer 1940, August offer is a major breakthrough, though in constitutional agitation in India, but also showed us how the British was thinking. So this is going to be offered by Churchill and Linlithgow, and this is going to come in August of 1940. That is why August offer. And the August offer was the concept that in order to get the INC on the war cabinet and to show explicitly the Indian support, the following things were offered to us. That's why it's an offer. The following things have been offered to us. First, dominion status. But if it is dominion status, it means within the Commonwealth or outside the Commonwealth. Very good. So dominion status within the Commonwealth. Very good. Within the Commonwealth. On the other hand, the second thing which they offered to us was, after the war, a constituent assembly mainly comprising of Indians. Mainly comprising of Indians. Now, the word which is very important here is mainly. So now the basic point is, would the INC accept either of these demands? No? So the basic point was, it was designed to fail. That Churchill can go to the Americans and say, देखो हमने तो offer किया था. We offered, but they didn't take only. They are arrogant. They are not taking. We offered, but they didn't take it only. So basically, Linlithgow and Churchill are doing a half-hearted attempt to get the INC on board. But why is August offer considered so important? Is because for the first time, British accepted dominion status. Before this, never ever did they accept the concept of dominion status, and they also were ready to give us a constituent assembly. But the problem is the word mainly. But the problem is the concept of mainly. I'll discuss that, Harsh. Don't worry. I'm just going to discuss that. Cripps mission is a major difference in that. I will discuss that with you. Now, what does mainly mean? First is Ramgarh session, then August offer. Now, you tell me one thing. One is, or two, three, four, five. How much is mainly? How much is mainly? Irwin said that he will give it to us. It was given to us for the first time. Basic point is mainly means that it does not have all Indians. So this mainly could mean 1 Indian, could mean 10 Indians, could mean anything. It's a vague statement. Dominion status within the Commonwealth would mean that basically India gets partial freedom within the British Empire. The ultimate executive, the head of state remains the Queen or the King of England, and we get responsible government or a prime minister, which is technically partial freedom. So very simply, August offer was a designed to failed offer because Linlithgow knew and Churchill knew that basically the dominion status will never be accepted by the INC, and they said constituent assembly mainly comprising of Indians. Now, mainly word is vague here. It can be 1 Indian, it can be 2 Indian, it can be 50 Indians. The basic point is it could be anybody. It's an eyewash. It's a drama which Churchill and Linlithgow are doing. So basically, the concept within August offer, why it is so revolutionary, considered so important, is because dominion status was offered to us for the first time properly, and Constituent Assembly demand was also accepted. But here there are two major problems. First, within the Commonwealth, and second, which is the concept of having this basic system in which the Constituent Assembly is mainly Indian. Is this making sense? What does the August offer actually offer? Yes, in a preamble of a dominion country, sovereign world will be absent. Yes, perfect. Right. Now, Congress obviously is going to reject it. Congress rejects it. And as I said, Parth, I'll say a word to you. When you will give the paper of UPSC, it will mainly consist of history. Now, what does this mean? You tell me, what does this mean? Will all questions be history? Or there will be some questions of history? Or there will be one question of history? Isn't the word mainly a vague statement? It basically is that mainly would mean a body which is made out of mainly Indians. Now, your conception of mainly could be different. My conception of mainly could be different. So, very simply, Nehru and Congress, the Gandhi is not in the picture right now. Nehru and Congress very strongly reject the August offer. Are you getting my point? Why that word is problematic? Mainly, it could be 1, it could be 10, it could be 100, it could be G, it has to be 1 at least. But the Constituent Assembly mainly of Indian means that there are Britishers also. And that is not something which the Congress wants. The Congress wants to independently make a constitution. So the Congress is going to reject the August offer under Nehru. And now the Congress will say to Gandhi, that please do something, start something. At least start something, because you see what the British are doing. But still, Gandhi was not ready to launch an all India level movement. And that is why in 1941, he will start his very unsuccessful individual satyagraha. And the concept was very simple. individual satyagraha meant that everybody is going to do individually, defy some laws, and you will talk about how the British are not true to their agenda in India. You will move from village to village. If you don't get arrested, move forward. If you get arrested, you go back and then you start your journey again. And basically, it was also called the Delhi Chalo movement. It's called the Delhi Chalo movement. It's pointless, though Vinoba Bhave did it very, very well. Nehru was also the other one who did it. But individual satyagraha, 25,000 people will be arrested also in this. It was just about talking about or criticizing the British and spreading the message that the British were useless. So individual satyagraha was the answer of the British, of the INC under Gandhi to the Congress or to the August offer. So August offer offers to us dominion status within the Commonwealth and the Constituent Assembly mainly comprising of Indians. There's a very weak response. There's a very weak response of Gandhi, which is called Delhi Chalo movement or individual satyagraha, which is people will not, it's not Subarna mass movement. It's about individually breaking, doing civil disobedience. And when you are able to break a law in one village, then you are not arrested. So to go to the next village, then break a law, then move to next village, next village, next village, next village, next village, move towards Delhi. But I hope that you are able to understand the pointlessness of that. The problem is it should be mass movement. It should be mass movement. He is talking about individuals doing it. So you tell me, would Linlithgow be under pressure because individuals are getting arrested? So here, basically, Gandhi himself is undercutting his own agenda. People are desperate for him to launch a mass movement, but he's still not ready to. And basically, they will eventually get arrested. So what is the point of this movement itself? So Gandhi will show very weak response in 1941. And that is the problem with Gandhi till 41. 42, he will have a different sense of urgency. I will tell you that. But let's talk about the August offer. The August offer came in August of 1940. And what was proposed was dominion status as an objective for India. But this was within the Commonwealth. Now you tell me one thing. If the Indians want to leave the Commonwealth, is there a provision in August offer? There is nothing. Perfect. Now hold on to that information. Expansion of Viceroy's Executive Council, which would have a majority of Indians. Now you see, majority of Indians, mainly Indians. Setting up of a Constituent Assembly after the war, where mainly Indians would decide the constitution according to socio-economic, political. Commonwealth means the empire, the British Empire. It's a fancy word. It's a fancy word for basically the empire. Political conception subject to fulfillment of the obligations of the government with regards to defense, minority rights, Indian services. No future constitution without the consent of minorities. Now, this is a very dangerous line. This is a very dangerous line which Linlithgow introduced. Tell me, because no constitution to be adopted. Now is it better? Yes. Okay. Now I was saying, you need to tell me who made this provision and added it to Linlithgow's document. Very good. Jinnah. Because now you see the British have started, yes, I like the word second wife, the way the British are now playing it is minorities issue needs to get solved, which is that if the minorities don't consent, we will not have a constitution. Now, this is the basic provision, as I showed you here. The basic provision, dominion status and constituent assembly, mainly of Indians. Now, response was very standard. Congress rejected August offer. Nehru said that dominion status was dead as a doornail concept itself. It's basically rusted and it makes no sense. Gandhi said that the declaration had widened the gulf between the nationalists and the British rulers. Muslim League liked the fact that it had a veto with regards to if there's a deadlock. The fact is for the first time, the Indian tried the dominion. Now the mic, if it's persists, I'll get this changed. Okay. So as I was saying, that Nehru will say it's a dead as a doornail concept. Dead as a doornail concept. Muslim League was happy that at least they had veto. Dominion status was offered for the first time to Indians explicitly. And there will be also addition of Indians into the Viceroy's Executive Council, because in July of 1941, the total number of Indians will now exceed the number of Britishers. From the 12, it was now 8. And basically, defense, finance, home, the three most important, still kept with the British, with the National Defense Council. But basic point of the matter is, this was not acceptable to anybody. Now, the Congress response to this whole story is going to be what is called as individual satyagraha. It's called individual satyagraha. Now, individual satyagraha, very simply, is that towards the end of 1940, the Congress once again asked to Gandhi to take the command, and Gandhi now began steps which would lead to a mass movement within a broader perspective. He decided to initiate a limited satyagraha on individual basis of few selected individuals in every locality. The demand of satyagrahi would be freedom of speech against the war through anti-war declaration. If the government did not arrest the satyagrahi, he would only repeat it and move to the next village and march towards Delhi, thus creating the concept of Dilli Chalo movement. Vinoba Bhave was the first to do it, then Nehru. However, by May of 1941, though 25,000 people had been convicted for individual civil disobedience, this movement was more or less useless. Now I need to discuss the most important concept, veto assurance to Muslim League. Means that minorities now technically have a rope to the neck of the constitution. If the minorities don't want it, it will never happen. Now please again listen to me very, very clearly. What have we done till this point? Because of this voice disruption, what happens is the basic flow breaks. But let us again try to understand something. I started the class by telling you Ramgarh Congress ministries resign. The Indian cooperation with the British has totally broken down. The Second World War, the Germans are dominating and the US is creating pressure on Churchill to do something. Churchill will now give a half-hearted call for what is called as the August offer, dominion within the Congress, within the Commonwealth, and the concept of Constituent Assembly, mainly of Indians. Are we all on the same page regard of this? I'm extremely sorry for the voice disruption, but we all should be on the same page with regards to this. If we are, then I move forward. Very good. Very small topics, but very, very important topics. Okay. Now let's refresh our memory. In August offer 1940, what was offered to India? Dominion. Now this is a very important slide for your preparation, so please pay attention. Within the Commonwealth. Second was Constituent Assembly, mainly of Indians. minorities have the call on constitution. Issue has to be resolved before constitution comes out. Again, Shivam, CWC will informally call for the resignation, and at Ramgarh they will formally go with it. So I know what you're saying. Informal CWC, it's not a session. Ramgarh is a session. So there are three basic points: dominion status within the Commonwealth, Constituent Assembly mainly of Indians. Here the words which are important is within, mainly, and minorities have to be resolved. Anybody has any issue here? Why USA pressurizing British for India? Because Indian support was important, and the British would argue basically that we are fighting for democracy, so they needed to prove it. Okay. So very simple point: dominion status within the Commonwealth, mainly of Indians, and simple point: minorities have a call on the constitution. Very simple point: any issue or any minorities clause has to be resolved before the constitution could be given. This is basically Jinha putting this point into the August offer, that if Muslim issue is not solved, constitution will not go ahead. Are we able to understand this? Because these are the exact words which the UPSC will use in the examination. We all are clear about August offer, yes? Okay. Now minorities, who called minorities? Minorities could be anybody. Could be anybody who is not INC. Could be anybody who is not INC. So it could mean Muslims, it could mean Sikhs, it could mean depressed classes. According to them, they are also minorities. Everything. You remember, why did the second roundtable conference get stuck? Why did second roundtable conference get stuck? Sachin, because they know that INC needs to be stopped, and Muslim League was being cultivated by Lilithgo against INC. It got stuck because of the depressed class issue of separate electorates and the minorities pact. So from the second roundtable conference, the British learnt one thing, which is that we can use this minority clause to break down any relationship. So the August offer very simply has offered to us three clauses which we don't accept. I am repeating this for the third time. Is this clear? This is conceptual clarity. Nothing here very important for your examination. Yes? Very good. Now comes the Cripps mission. It's called the Cripps mission, which was sent in 1942. It's named after the person who came to India, Sir Stanford Cripps. Cripps was now sent with the following mandate. The Japanese have entered the war. The Japanese are running rampage in the southeastern sector. Britain is not in a good state in the war itself. America just has entered the war close to 6 to 7 months back, and America is creating pressure on the British to show that they are better than Hitler. Now, very simply, Cripps mission for the first time will say, we offer dominion status with the option of leaving the Commonwealth afterwards. This is the major change, which is that now they are giving us an option to leave the Commonwealth if we want. And basically, this is what India got also in the Indian Independence Act: dominion status with the option to leave Commonwealth. And we used it as soon as we got independence. The simple point is, dominion status now was just a transitionary concept, and India did have the aspect of what we call as the possibility of being a sovereign nation. The possibility of being a sovereign nation. So this is the first major change which happens in the Cripps mission. You see how basically India's cooperation had become so important for the British. So it is still dominion status initially, but then in the first one, August offer, it was not allowed to leave, or we were not allowed to leave. In the Cripps mission, we are allowed to leave. We are allowed to leave. This is a basic point you need to understand, which is we have the right to leave the Commonwealth. Is this clear? Yes? Is this point clear? Very good. Now, the second, sir, it means dominion status is remain right. No, Basavaraj, we are a sovereign country today. But basically, the British, what it said was, they would not give us independence straight. India would get first dominion, and then India would choose to become a sovereign country, rather than India created straight away as a sovereign nation. Are you getting my point? It's just adding one more step of dominion, right? Okay. We did not accept. I will tell you why we did not accept Cripps mission. Now, the next provision is also very nice. It's a cumbersome process. It's a messy process. You will see. The next offer was Constituent Assembly comprising of all Indians, and it would be elected via proportional representation from provinces and nomination of representatives from the princely states. Now, this is again a major point. Why we not left the Commonwealth, Tushar? We did leave the Commonwealth. We are today not a part of the Commonwealth as a sovereign, we are a part of a Commonwealth as a sovereign nation. Now, this is a very major change. Constituent Assembly, all Indian. And how would the Constituent Assembly be elected? Proportional representation from the provinces and nomination from the princely states. Now, you see, if you look at this, is the Cripps mission one step forward or one step backward to August offer? It is, till this point, it sounds great. It's technically what India was looking for in a way. But now there's the next clause, which is the problematic clause. Can we discuss the third clause? Anybody who is not able to understand the two comparatively to each other, that I've written them together, which is that basically dominion within, dominion without, Constituent Assembly mainly, Constituent Assembly all, and now the most dangerous provision of the Cripps mission, why we did not accept the Cripps mission. Can we discuss the Cripps mission third point? Very good. Now, what the Cripps mission had was the third major problematic point. And that point was that at the time of creation of Indian dominion, if any province does not want to be part of Indian dominion, it can leave the dominion and form a new one, or form a new dominion. This is basically called the partition clause. That what Cripps is saying is that out of India, this is again suggested by Jinha, when India will get created, out of the 11 provinces, for example, Northwestern Frontier Province does not want to be part of the Indian Dominion. It can write its own constitution and become a separate country. And this is why the Cripps mission is considered a major problematic mission. Till this point, it's all rosy picture. But as soon as Cripps mission offered this, it was now clear that there is no moving forward. There's no moving forward, because as it is talking about what is going to happen after the war. But this will be not acceptable to the British, to the INC. This is technically giving India, and that is why you understand why they wanted to go for these two steps. Because if you make India into a sovereign nation, you can't add this clause. So rather create first dominion and then sovereign nation, and at this stage they can divide India. So they are not helping us form our constitution. They're just doing a drama. Because will the INC accept this clause? You tell me. No. So again, simply Cripps mission was designed to fail. There is no concept of sovereignty in dominion. It's only after you become a dominion that you can become a sovereign nation. Now, are you understanding the larger aspect here? The clauses are randomly made because the INC will not accept either the August offer or the Cripps mission, because Churchill wanted India to not accept these, so that Churchill could say to the Americans, see, we are offering them, but they are not only taking. And this is why the provisions were radical, but there was always one clause which was never acceptable to the INC. So the August offer, it was not acceptable because basically mainly India. And the Cripps mission, again, not acceptable because of the fact that you are giving partition clause. So very simply, both August offer and the Cripps mission were designed to fail. I'll tell you a very simple point. UPSC changes the rules, and it says that anybody who has the citizenship of Mars can become an IS officer automatically. Now you tell me, is this offer of any use? I am offering you, UPSC is saying direct entry, but they have designed it to fail because citizenship of Mars does not exist. So August offer and Cripps mission are the same thing. That basically we will offer something to the Indians in such a way that they don't accept it. And if you understand this point, I would like to give you a mains question here and go to Quit India. What was the use of resigning the members? So as to show protest. It was about protest. Okay. It means that after the war, India would have the right to choose dominion by leaving the Commonwealth. Harshita, they did not accept it only, but that was the plan. They are intentionally giving not acceptable things. Yes. Why did Gandhi call it a post-dated check? Because even if these two clauses were good, It was only going to come when the war is going to be over, but nobody knew when the war is going to be over itself. Okay, I'll give you a check. I'll give you a check of $1 billion and you can encash it on 1st March 4045. So what is the point of that 1 billion? Are you getting my point? So I am offering you $1 billion, but you can only get it in 1st March 4045. So now you tell me, is this of any purpose to you? Basically, both the Cripps mission and what was the use of the British designing Cripps mission to fail? Because he can go to the Americans and show, see, August offer, Cripps mission. And we offered something to the Indians. Indians are arrogant. It's all a drama. Churchill will say, देखो हम तो दे रहे, we तो are offering, we are offering, but they are not taking. They are not taking. So it shows that the British is trying to get something out of this relationship, but it's the Indians who are the problem. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? So the major difference between first and second, first is we were not offered to leave the Union, and here we were technically getting the option to leave the Commonwealth, that is called Commonwealth, meaning if we ever accepted August offer, we would never have become a sovereign country. But in Cripps mission, we would have become a sovereign country maybe later, mainly to all, which is till this point it was not specified how the Indians would get elected. Now it has specified how Indians is going to be elected: proportional representation from provinces, nomination from princely states, and the major clause, which is partition clause. Congress rejected both the clauses. Obviously, they rejected both the clauses. If not, our independence would have been in 1942. Is this clear? Is this clear? Please tell me, because then I give you mains question, we read it out and we end this section. Okay, because we have very interesting topics. Quit India, then what is called the Desai Liaquat Pact, and then INA. Okay, I have to give you the timeline also. Right. Mains question. The August offer and the Cripps mission were important constitutional concessions, but were designed to fail the Indian National Congress. Discuss. Or rather, we said designed to fail. Can you write this answer? Congress rejected both the offers. Why did the British want Indian support at this point of time? They are the lowest at this point of time. They are the lowest at this point of time. Britain can only show to the world that we are. Churchill can only show to the world that I am not Hitler by basically saying that I am not technically Churchill is equally as bad as Hitler, but he's saying no, I am defending democracy. Defending democracy. You can write this answer. You want it to be 250 words. Okay, you have now become conscious of the words. 250 words and send it to islive@byjus.com and we'll be happy to check it for you. No issues at all. What is the main problem with Cripps mission? You tell me. Partition clause. Churchill is celebrated as a hero, but he is the worst when it comes to India. Worst of the worst. Okay. Now, in March of 1942, a mission headed by Stanford Cripps was sent to India with constitutional proposal to seek Indian support for the war. Why Cripps mission was sent? The British reverses in Southeast Asia, the Japanese threat of invading India had become real and very crucial to protect India and have Indian support. There was also the pressures from the US, USSR, China to seek Indian cooperation so that they could show to the world that they are different. And very simply, what are the main proposals? We are the main proposals. An Indian Union with the dominion status would be set up. It would be free to decide its relations to the Commonwealth and free to participate in the United Nations and other national bodies. The UN was being conceived at this point of time by the Allied powers. So they're talking about the UN in that sense. Though the UN will not come into existence in not before 1944, but they are still thinking about it. So this means dominion, free to leave it. After the end of the war, a constant assembly would be convened to frame a new constitution. The members of this assembly would be partly elected by provincial assemblies through proportional representation and partly by nominated by princes. The British government would accept the new constitution subject to two conditions. Now, this is where it starts to go south. Any province not willing to join the union would have the separate constitution and can form a separate union. And the new constitution would be negotiated as a treaty to effect transfer of power and safeguard religious minorities. In the meantime, defense of India would be in the hands of the British, and all powers of the Governor General will remain intact. And basically, this is where these are the problematic aspects. These are the problematic aspects. Thereafter, how did the proposal differ from anything else in the past? I hope you understand proportional representation. Anybody who wants me to explain proportional representation? Anyone? You want me to okay? You want me to understand or make you understand proportional? See, in India, remember we basically give me 1 second. Let me get a slide. In India, we follow today what is called first past the post system. So if A, B, C are contesting elections, there is A who gets 10 votes, B who gets 10 votes. So how many votes does C need to win this election? He needs 11. He only needs one more than anyone else. This is called first past the post system. That the person wins the seat if he is able to cross the finishing line first. So any candidate get any amount of vote share, it doesn't really matter. It's about winning against your rivals. Proportional representation rather is the concept that if there are 100 seats, party A, party B, party C, this is party A, party B and party C get 20% vote share, 30% vote share and 50% vote share. Then basically out of these 100 seats, 50 would be given to C, 50 would be given to C, 30 would be given to B, 20 would be given to A. You get seats in proportion to your vote share. Seats in proportion to your vote share. So, are we now able to understand what is the concept of proportional representation? India today follows in the general elections first past the post system, and the proportional representation concept is vis-a-vis. We use it in technically the election of the president, the single transferable vote and proportional representation, but that is not what I'm teaching here. You understand basic point? You understand basic point? You get seat via proportional representation as per your vote share. Okay, very good. Now, how was this proposal different from before? So the constitution was solely to be made by Indians now. So not from mainly to all. A concrete plan for a constituent assembly. India would be allowed to share administration in the interim period. However, this is considered the blueprint for the Indian partition, because the provinces can form their separate constitution and India would be free to withdraw from the Commonwealth. So everything is written in the PPT. Don't have to worry in that sense. Now the failure of the Cripps mission basically was that it was not able to satisfy either the Indian nationalists or technically become a major force with regards to propaganda against the US. Cripps generally had what a very rigid attitude, take it or leave it if there's a deadlock. There was no clarity who will be given power, when will it be given power, if there's a transfer of power. Churchill and Lithgow made sure, along with the Commander-in-Chief of India, that Cripps' efforts were undercut, and talks will break down over the Viceroy's veto also. That can the Viceroy veto everything? Yes, he can. So very simply, Congress said that we will not take anything less than complete independence. Representation should not be of nomination via the princely states. Everybody should be elected representative. Princely states should not be asked to leave, or the concept of partition clause should not be there. And very simply, transfer of power should be immediate and there is absence of any concept of real defense. And the Governor General supremacy was retained. Therefore, the demand of Governor General was technically not acceptable to anybody, that he retains everything till the war is there. Nehru Azad were the official negotiators. Gandhi called it a post-dated check. Nehru pointed out that the existing structure and autocratic powers would be remaining, and the viceroys, basically livid followers, and his canteens and everything would be the way it is. Basically, he has all of his power, and we wait for the war to be over. That is why post-dated check. League had a problem in the single Indian Union concept, did not have the machinery to create a constituent assembly for the things which had acceded out, and the proposal denied Muslims the right to self-determination and creation of Pakistan. That is the basic point, that the demand for Pakistan was not explicitly given by this point of time. Now we move to the next most important 1942 event, which is called Quit India. Now, all what I've written in the PPT as points, those are heavy points out of books. That is called what is called formal language. If you don't understand the formal language, but if you understand the basic point which I'm trying to make here, then what is going to be the basic point that is going to come in the examination? UPSC will not pick up the line and give it to you, but I hope you can recognize the difference between these two. August offer, Cripps mission, and why Cripps mission failed. Yes? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Can I move to Quit India? Once Quit India is over, we take a break. Okay. So I hope everybody is following me, because these are very small events which are happening at this point of time in India. Yes? Okay. Yes, Khadija, you should be. Yashika, I have to give you timeline, I know that. But first, Quit India. Now, because we're still stuck up in the same issue. 1942. Implementation of constitution, if minorities not accept, then minorities don't accept it, constitution will not be implemented only. Now, Quit India. Now, there's a context for Quit India. Yeah, we'll do previous year questions properly, all of them tomorrow. All miscellaneous topics. Tomorrow we'll cover everything. Tomorrow is last class for modern India. Most probably Mountbatten plan will be left. Small 10-15 minutes discussion. We give India independence. We do questions. Now, the Quit India movement, 1942, August 8th, is a very different type of movement itself. We had the Rowlatt Satyagraha, we had the non-cooperation movement, we had the CDM, But Quit India was something different. Firstly, when Gandhi was asked in 1941, you go for mass movement, Gandhi said individuals. But in 1942 August, Gandhi is anxious. Gandhi is anxious, he's scared, and he has urgency. He has urgency. Now, basic point is, what did Gandhi eat that he was so anxious, scared, or in urgency that I need to start a movement as soon as possible? Nehru was also very, very anxiety driven. What is that by August of 1942, things were becoming so scary that he needed to start an all India level movement, and that is the presence of the Japanese. Japanese were running wild in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, the Japanese literally, and the cowards, the British cowards, these useless cowards, as soon as the Japanese used to come to either the Malayan Peninsula or even Singapore or even parts of Indochina, what is Vietnam, when the British just used to board a plane and leave. They used to leave all the Indian troops, all the people at the mercy of the Japanese. They literally used to just switch on the engine of the aeroplane and board and leave. All British officers within minutes were gone. And this is basically called the retreats. This is called the retreats. The retreat of the British was humiliating. Because if the Japanese caught a Britisher, they would skin him alive. They would skin him alive. That is the brutality of the Japanese. They were the worst imperial power when it comes to basically prisoners of war. Japanese prisoners of war were literally skinned alive. Skinned alive means chamdi uderadam. This is the level. This is the level of harshness the Japanese actually were known for. Ruthless power. And Gandhi and Nehru could see that the British are just leaving. The British are just leaving. The Japanese bomb, British board a plane. Bye-bye. You see what you need to do with the Japanese. And now Gandhi became baffled. Gandhi became baffled. He now started to say that what is the guarantee that the Japanese come to India and the Viceroy is on a plane to England? And Viceroy says, you manage. You manage. The possibility of a Japanese invasion of India. Japanese invasion of India. The possibility was real. Was real. And now this becomes the context for Quit India. This becomes the context for Quit India. That basically Gandhi and Nehru were technically anxious and scared. What if the British just randomly leave India to the helm of the Japanese? The Japanese were aggressive, and the Japanese and the British are on the two other sides of the war. So why would the Japanese come to India? You tell me. Because Japanese wanted to take whatever was the British. Hitler had told the Japanese, you enjoy in Asia, you take whatever you can take from the French and the British. So do we understand the urgency here? Do we understand the anxiousness here? Do we understand the scared or the way Gandhi will give up his rhetoric, individual satyagraha. Let us slowly go to Delhi. Jay, as I said, both are adversaries, are enemies in war. And India is a British colony. British, if they lose India, the Japanese give a major advantage to Hitler. Now, very simply, the context is the failure of Cripps mission, Japanese onslaught in Southeast Asia. Congress now decided to take steps to compel the British to accept the Indian demand for independence. The simple point of Gandhi was, leave us to our own fate. You don't have the capacity. Japanese are running, rampaging. You do. You give us independence. We'll figure it out with the Japanese. What Gandhi feared was that it cannot be that we go out of one independence or one movement of independence, that we finally get independence and then we go under the domination of the Japanese. That we get from British domination, we go into Japanese domination. So now Gandhi is basically, he already hated the fascists. He hated Hitler and Mussolini. He is fearful of what the Japanese can do in India. So Gandhi at the Govalia tank on 8th August 1942 will give a call for what is called Quit India. He will call for Quit India. They said, quit India. You go. We'll figure it out. You go, you take the plane right now rather than taking the plane when the Japanese are here. So you take the plane right now, you quit India so that we can figure it out with the Japanese ourselves. We will defend ourselves. We don't need your help. Now, basically, when he will make this resolution on 8th August 1942 at Govalia Tank in Bombay, he will say, give us independence immediately. Either declare the commitment to free India to defend itself against all forces of fascism and imperialism. Basically, the Japanese form a provisional government after British withdrawal, sanction civil disobedience against British rule, and Gandhi was named the leader of the struggle. Gandhi will also give the following cry. In the Quit India resolution, he said, government servants should not resign because we need a bureaucracy for this independent India, but declare your allegiance to the Congress. Soldiers do not leave army, but do not fire on compatriots, on an Indian. Students, now this is a very important point which Gandhi understood. If confident, leave studies. Don't have to learn this, do not learn. But he said, if confident, then leave studies. If you're not confident, then don't leave studies. If you're confident that you can manage, sure. If not, then don't leave. But if confident, leave studies. Zamindars, if they are anti-government, pay mutual agreed rent. If they are pro-government, do not pay rent. Princes, princely state, accept the masses and accept sovereignty of your people. And princely state people, support the ruler if he is anti-government and declare yourself part of Indian Union if he is pro-government. So very simply, he's made a warring cry. But the most interesting thing which he says is this. And this literally has been pro-government means pro the British. This is literally said as, and this is a quote out of Gandhi's, and you can see his urgency. Gandhi in this speech is going to say a very important line. Here is a mantra, a short one that I give you. You may imprint it on your hearts and let every breath of your expression on it. The mantra is do or die. We shall either free India or die in the attempt. We shall not live to see the perpetuation of our own slavery or our own slavery again. Now he's technically saying perpetuation of our slavery, first under the British, now under the Japanese. Now a lot of people, who is this mantra? This is Gandhi's mantra. Gandhi's mantra. His warring cry was, perpetuation means to take forward, to continue. Now, a lot of people argue that Gandhi said do or die, which means that he sanctioned violence. But did he actually mean violence by do or die? Because a lot of people say that Gandhi compromised on his own ideal in 1942. Basically, Gandhi is not literally telling you to go and die. It's a metaphorical way of saying that do or die, put all effort. If I say to you, you have to do or die and clear this examination. But am I asking you to die for this examination? Technically, no. So basically, this is a metaphorical. It's a metaphorical cry, not literally asking to die. Please remember this. Do or die is not Gandhi sanctioning violence, but showing his intent. Showing his intent. So we understand his instructions. Can I now give you a flow chart which you will make in the examination for the features of the Quit India movement? Not a lot, but very interesting in that sense. Yes. So what is the Quit India movement? Now, the most interesting aspect is on 8th August, Gandhi will give this call, and Lithgow was in no mood to entertain all of this. So on 9th August, every Indian national leader was arrested and taken to jail. And this is the basic point. As soon as Gandhi will go for this call, Gandhi is also picked up along with Gandhi. As soon as Gandhi will say this in the evening, early morning, the British are going to enter and pick up whomsoever is a Indian leader. Nehru will get arrested. Maulana Abdul Kalam will get arrested. Gandhi, as it is, will get arrested. C. Rajagopalachari is arrested. Rajendra Prasad arrested. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel arrested. If I go on to give you the list, every member of the INC got arrested. More than that, INC was banned as an organization. And basically, this movement became leaderless. And this is one of the first most important features of the Quit India movement. Though Gandhi called for Quit India, it became, you guess, did Jinnah get arrested or not? It became a leaderless movement immediately. Bose was not in India only. I'll discuss that with you. Bose was not in India. How can you arrest your second wife? So Jinnah obviously not got arrested. You know the British by now. Think like a Britisher. Why would he arrest Jinnah? Jinnah was complying with what he was saying. So basically, one of the most important features of this movement is Gandhi was not there to control it or lead it. Who banned the INC? Lithgow. Now, can we agree to this point? That basically, if every leader is gone, everybody is gone because everybody is arrested. So, nobody is there to lead it only. Now, tell me one thing. If I was in 1942, 9th August 1942, I woke up and got to know that all my leaders are gone, what would I do? Sleep again. Achha. The people lost it. The people lost it. And violence will erupt immediately all across India. Violence will erupt all across India. And this will become the next important feature. Public violence and rampage. Whatever they see in technically, what represents the British, they burnt it. Burning of police stations, burning of telegraph lines, burning of post offices, railway stations. Whatever they could get their hand on, they started to literally burn it. Literally burn it. So the first response obviously was anger, was anguish, and was total destruction. However, one of the most interesting features of the Quit India movement is basically was the maturity of our nationalism. Moment of maturity of our nationalism. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, though there is proper public rampage, the people knew what to do. The people knew what to do. But who taught the people what to do in a mass movement? Who taught the people what to do in the mass movement? This is the contribution of Gandhi. Basically, what is going to happen is, people knew what they had to do. So, new leaders will emerge. New leaders will emerge. There will be parallel governments will be established. And more than that, there will be secret organizations. Secret organizations. A very interesting personality, Usha Mehta. Secret organizations. And the most important, mass civil disobedience along with violence. This is the importance of Gandhi. Bose is not in India. Bose, as of right now, 42, he's in Singapore. Basically, India had now learned what to do when there was a call for a mass movement. Every Indian knew what to do. And this is why Quit India is the inauguration of the people's movement phase, because now people did not need Gandhi. Peasant knew what to do. The workers knew what to do. The zamindars knew what to do. The public servants knew what to do. I have been literally since 1905 until 1942, this 40, close to 40 years of literal movement after movement, 1905, 1919, 1922, 1931, and then 1942. It's a culmination of the process. Please understand this, because Quit India represents this very important movement. If you want to add individual satyagraha, whatever it may be, The point of the matter is, Quit India represents something which tells us and is satisfactory that India would get independence for sure now. Because Indians were now conscious of their role. They were ready to sacrifice themselves. They were ready to sacrifice themselves at the helm of everything. And they were very, very important because now there are no leaders. Nobody knew where Gandhi was. Nobody knew where Nehru was. Now the INC is not how Indian nationalism stays alive. Why were the Swarajists and no changers fighting? Because they thought that the national movement will fizz out in the period of 1922, 23, 24. Here is a movement where there are no leaders, but now leaders will emerge. Aruna Asaf Ali, the wife of Asaf Ali, she is going to step up. Usha Mehta was a person who actually operated a secret organization. And what her task was, that she was a very wealthy woman. She had a secret radio called the Bombay Radio, out of which she used to broadcast at a frequency which the British did not know what were the instructions to the people. In her car, she used to always have 3 rifles. And she was the one who used to distribute rifles to the revolutionaries. Underground radio, distribution of rifles. She used to buy rifles and give it to revolutionaries. She was the one who literally in Bombay had become the new Gandhi. And that was not possible before CDN. Parallel governments will emerge. In Balia, in Satara, there will be people who will literally destroy British rule and form their own Gandhi Raj. These things were not known in India. And our nationalism, the Bose and Gandhian nationalism, had now culminated. It was a culmination of the process. So a lot of people just talk about Quit India as a movement. But Quit India is not about a movement. It's a maturity of a movement. If I have taught you modern India, now I don't need to tell you what you need to do. I have prepared you for modern India. Same way, Gandhi, through this long, arduous process since 1915, day in, day out, was creating the context of how India could now become an independent nation. Independent nation. And this is why Quit India is considered, as much as it has all these standard features which you are going to write in the examination. You need to understand the significance of it. And that no book will give you, but I'm trying to inculcate it to you. It is the efforts of Nehru, of Bose, of Gandhi, of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, of Dadabhai Naroji, every person who had died for India. Bhagat Singh, his comrades, HSRA, HRA, Anusilan Samiti, the Mitra Mela. It is not a joke that a movement could equally become basically out of within one day. It would have become useless. But one of the worst features which Linlithgow embodies is extreme governmental repression. Government also did a lot of repression. Police firings. Linlithgow, that is why I asked you this question in the 2nd or 3rd class. Who do you think is the worst viceroy? Curzon is not even half of what Linlithgow is. Literal shooting of the people, but the people were ready to die. Our freedom today, the fact that I am here as a citizen of India, as standing in the Republic of India, there is blood which was shed to create that freedom, and we take it for granted. And that is the ironical part. That somehow our nationalism matured in Quit India, but today we don't realize the importance of our freedom. So if you're able to understand the larger perspective here, I'll just add the details into this story and then we take a break. Are you able to understand the concept? Please. People dominated Gandhi via violence. No, see, now this is the basic point. If you will say that Gandhi sanctioned violence, that is technically not true. Because Gandhi was not there to lead this movement only. That's the basic point. Okay. See, Kivika is an interesting question. Do Pakistanis learn about these movements? The ironical part of, when I used to meet Pakistani historians in conferences, but I went to Senegal for a Harvard University conference. 2-3 Pakistani historians were there. So I said to them very straightforward that your history till 1947 is technically Indian history. So what do you actually write in your history? Pakistan's history till 1947 is all Indian history only. So how do you say that Pakistan has a separate history altogether? Their blood used to boil. There's a satisfaction which I used to get. That's a separate issue altogether. But we used to straightforward say that what alternative history you are going to tell me? Quit India happened and Quit India happened. You can't say that Quit India did not happen. So whenever they try to talk about, see, Hindu-Muslim unity by this point of time had broken down, Sahil. We'll discuss that issue. But this is the basic point. Be it whatever, people are people, that's not the point. The point is, if you start to write alternative histories of India, then what is history of Pakistan? Indus Valley civilization is ours. In a way, everything till 1947 is all ours only. So IVC, be it Maurya, be it post-Gupta, be it Mughal India, everything is India only. So what are you going to write? There can't be a quit Pakistan movement, right? Are you getting my point? So that's a basic reply which I used to give quite happily to anybody who used to ask me this. What is your understanding of this? I say whatever my understanding may be, your understanding is my understanding. So that is the basic point. You can't have your history should start with 1947 to 1990 or 2023. Right. Okay. So can we put in the details? We'll talk about that, Praveen. The things which are happening in the background. It was not an organized movement. It was not an organized movement. Okay. Shivam, there's actually a mains question with regards to what happens if Gandhi was not there. I'll tell you what to do with that question. Okay. What is the spread? Gandhi had successfully built the tempo through the individual civil disobedience movement, organized ramping and a consistent propaganda campaign. Government, however, was in no mood to either negotiate with the Congress or wait for the movement to launch. Before the Congress could start a movement, the government struck hard. Early in the morning of 9th August, Gandhi and other Congress leaders were arrested and taken to unknown destinations. Congress was once again, like in the CDM phase 2, it had been declared illegal. It was again declared illegal. Now, public will run rampage. The news of these arrests left the country aghast. A spontaneous movement will start everywhere. Left leaderless, without organization, people reacted in any manner they could. The public attacked symbols of authority, hoisted national flag, and basically forced everything on public buildings. Satyagrahis offered them for arrest. Bridges were blown up. Students responded by going on strike in school and colleges, participating in processions, writing and distributing illegal news sheets, and acting as couriers for underground networks. You tell me one thing. Was any of this possible before 1915 or before 1919? That's the basic point. Aghast means surprised. That is the basic point. This is the importance of Gandhi. Gandhi systematically taught people what to do. Workers went on strike in Ahmedabad, Bombay, Jamshedpur, Ahmednagar, and Pune. All over the country were hartals, strikes in factories, school, college, demonstrations, lathi charge. People were fired upon. Angered by repeated firing and repression, in many places the people took to violent actions. They attacked symbols of authority, police stations, post office, railways. Madras and Bombay, or rather Madras and Bengal, were the most affected. And further, there is a lot of underground activity which is done, undertaken by socialist forward bloc members, though Bose is not in India at this point of time. Gandhi Ashramites, revolutionaries, local organizations, all were now going to do activities because INC is not allowed. So they do activities at the underground level. Usha Mehta started the underground radio in Bombay. JP and Ramanand Mishra escaped the Hazaribagh jail to Nepal border. Jayaprakash Narayan formed the Azad Dasta in the terrains of Nepal and trained them in guerrilla warfare. If that was not enough, that was not enough. Ram Manohar Lohia, Aruna Asaf Ali, Biju Patnaik, you have Chota Bhai Puranaik, Achyut Patwardhan, Sucheta Kriplani, and R.P. Goenka, who emerged as the new leadership. You don't learn their names, but you just need to know their names. Learning is not something, knowing is something. They are the new leadership. This phase of underground activity meant that popular morale continued to be directed and was given command and guidance via these new leadership. So I am not asking you to learn it, but basically I am asking you to know their names at least. Sucheta Kriplani is the wife of whom? Of whom? You already know the name. JB Kriplani. Same way, Aruna Asaf Ali is the wife of Asaf Ali. So there is the women who had not been picked up by the police, they emerge as the new leadership. So the simple point of the matter is that all across India, underground activities will begin, and these names are not that. See, Jayaprakash Narayan is still important, and we'll talk about him in post-independence. He's Narayan movement emergency. But the basic point of the matter is, what we need to understand is that there is a new type of flurry. These people were not leaders beforehand, but they emerge as leaders now. And there will be parallel governments. In Balia, Chitu Pandey, this you have to remember, very, very, very important, comes in the examination as match the following. Quite a lot of time it comes. In Balia, under Chitu Pandey, we have a new parallel government which emerged. In Tamluk, Jatiya Sarkar was created, and Jatiya Sarkar, before this, undertook cyclone relief, sanctioned what is called grants for schools, supplied paddy to the rich and the poor both. In Satara, the Parthi Sarkar will be established by Y.B. Chavan and Nani Patil. Longest lasting, for 3 to 4 years, there will be no control of the British over Satara or Balia or Tamluk. They got support from the ruler of Oudh, who was a Gandhian, and he even declared or got a constitution drafted for him, which was basically in a way Gandhian. So village libraries, what is called Nyayanand Mandals were organized, publishing of new campaign data and even new type of literature. Gandhian marriages were organized. Basically, people chose what they wanted to choose as their expression. Youth very enthusiastically took part. Women, especially school and college girls, participated. Aruna Asaf Ali, Sucheta Kriplani, Usha Mehta emerged as new leadership. Workers were striking, facing repression. Peasants concentrated their efforts on the symbols of authority, and with no real leadership, they still were ready to go for anti-zamindar violence, and even zamindars participated. So what I'm trying to give you here basically is a picture of what happened in Quit India. From government officers, from lower level of the police, administration, all participating in this movement. Muslims helped by giving shelter to underground activists. There were no communal clashes during this movement. Communists, despite their anti-war line, felt irresistible to be put into the movement itself. Princely states, however, remained low-key. Now, I have given you a picture. The problem is that the British also repressed equally. Lathi charge, tear gas fired upon. 10,000 people were killed in this whole process. The press was not allowed to write anything. The military took over a lot of cities. Police, secret service reigned supreme. Rebellious villages were fined. Mass torture of people. Government used maximum force to repress this movement, including even aircrafts and machine guns. So I'll tell you what to write, don't worry. It's an all India level movement, strongest in Bihar, followed by UP and Maharashtra. Government authority more or less disappeared in parts of UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra. The student movement was very, very strong in Bihar, and peasant movement also. Although the movement was theoretically led by Gandhi, in practice, it was not in the hands of anybody but the new leadership. Now, absence of Gandhi during this movement, did not advocate for violence but did not condemn it also. For the first time, Gandhi did not say anything. Gandhi was like, okay, let them do what they're doing. And more than that, he would not be able to do anything because he was in jail. So Gandhi had stopped the non-cooperation because of violence, but here he did not. It is only the Hindu Mahasabha which did not participate in the Quit India over a religious specific agenda that they believed that Hindu-Muslim unity was not something conducive. Now, first tell me one thing. I've given you this picture. Does it give you a little bit more perspective? Because I'll tell you what to do with this information. Because as I said, there is no issue with regards to all this. You can't write all of this information, obviously. Now, very simply, what is expected or what are you going to do? You can first learn this slide. Can you learn this slide? These are all the things which I told you right now. Governmental repression, new type of movement, mass civil disobedience, secret organization, the parallel governments, new leadership. Gandhi was not there, Gandhi leaderless. This is what I told you. So this is what you learn. And now what I want you to do is just sprinkle certain facts. Sprinkle certain facts around it. And the facts which I want you to learn basically are, for example, Usha Mehta, Sucheta Kriplani, Aruna Asaf Ali. Thereafter, Balia, Tamluk, and Satara. These three parallel governments. You talk about new leadership. If you want to add Jayaprakash Narayan, you add as many names as you want. That is totally on your comfort. Simple point of the matter is, parallel governments, remember the names of new leadership. Remember Jayaprakash Narayan, Usha Mehta, Sucheta Kriplani, Aruna Asaf Ali. Remember the concept of underground. And simple point is, no Gandhi, governmental repression. Are we clear about all of this? Devendra, I am here in live class. Recorded is recorded. In recorded, I am not going to respond to your chat. Here I respond to your chat. Okay? We can agree to this much. I am not asking too much for you to remember. I'll give you a question and that will give you an understanding what to do with this information. Can you give me a question and we take a break? Everyone, Byjus Patnaik, whatever you want to write. Okay. The Quit India movement represented in Indian history new forces, new leadership, and maturity of the national movement. J.B. Kriplani. Comment. Now do you get what do you do with this information? In what you have, facts generally are for prelims, but in mains, you have to now understand what are the features. Basically, it's asking about the features. Yes? Everyone, can we take a break? You want it to be 250 words? 250 words. Done. So I hope everybody is now clear. When I come back, I will discuss with you the timeline. So I will now give you the master timeline from 1942 to 47. And I hope we all can, or I can agree with you, and we all are on the same page with regards to that. What has happened till 42 is clear. August, Cripps quit India. Because once I come back, a very small discussion, and then we start INA. INA, one of the most important discussions I have. After INA trials, then Wavel conference, then RIN mutiny. These four small topics. Yes, everyone? Great. So we come back at 7 p.m. and I give you the timeline. Perfect. See you. Boss, we'll discuss with you. Okay. Now, what I need to discuss with you, what was Yashika, we are coming to that. I know we all are curious, where is Subhash Chandra Bose? We'll discuss that. I have to discuss that with you, which is INA. Now, what happens by this point of time, and I give you the master timeline, technically in Singapore, is that one thing becomes very, very clear. One thing becomes very, very clear, that now INC was technically accepting the fact that independence would basically come with partition. But more than that, because the INC could see how Lithgow was so happy to interact with Jinnah, now INC could feel that independence is coming. Quit India will fizz out because of the repression itself. But now the INC thought that let's do one thing. Let's go into the pact with Muslim League, that the concept was, let us at least get independence. The concept was that Congress wanted to say to Jinnah, independence let us take, don't block independence. Because the way Cripps mission and August offer were actually worded, it seemed like that Jinnah had the power to stop the process of independence. So the INC will therefore try 2 times, and that is called the C. Rajagopalachari formula and the Desai-Liaquat Pact. So by 1940, it was clear that Pakistan was something which the Muslim League is going to ask for. They passed a resolution calling for the grouping of geographically contiguous areas where Muslims were in majority, north, west, and east, into an independent state which is constituent units were autonomous, sovereign, and adequate safeguard for Muslim was there. And that is why on 23rd March 1943, Pakistan Day will be observed, and now Jinnah's politics was becoming more and more aggressive. More and more aggressive. And because the Congress could see this, the first time the INC tried to, this is the overconfidence of the INC backfiring on them. The first time the Congress could or wanted to come to an agreement was C. Rajagopalachari formula in 1944. And it was about basically bringing both of these parties together. The main point was Muslim League should endorse Congress demand for independence, and League should cooperate with the Congress in making the provisional government. Basic point is, if there would be transfer of power, it would be transferred to a body which is independent and in a way provisional. And you see here, the same party which the Congress ignored in 1937-36, the Congress is now pleading to the League to somehow not stop the process of independence. This plan will be obviously rejected. Jinnah did not accept it. And after the war, it was believed that under Rajagopalachari formula, entire population of Muslim majority areas and in northwest and northeast would go for a plebiscite whether they want a sovereign country or not. And the in case acceptable or acceptance of partition, agreement jointly for a joint center, and if all powers are transferred to India, this is what C. Rajagopalachari was ready to do. Plebiscite means basically a vote. Now you tell me, would Jinnah ever agree for voting to determine for partition? Formula means it's just a formula he's bringing. No. So he does not believe in a joint center, and Jinnah would never ever agree to partition based on an election. So C. Rajagopalachari formula was inherently flawed and would never be accepted. In the same way, the Jinnah stance was very clear. He wanted the Congress to accept two-nation theory, which is a Muslim nation in both northwest and northeast, and that too the entire population, not based on plebiscite. He supported an idea of a nation but no common center. While the Congress was ready to cooperate with the League for Independence, the League did not care for the independence of the Union. Only wants separate nation. Only wants separate nation. This is why now Jinnah was technically becoming a roadblock. He was literally becoming a roadblock for Indian independence because he said, I don't care about independence. If my nation is given to me, I don't care if India gets independence or not. And that is why there will be another attempt which will be made by Desai and Liaquat, Bhulabhai Desai and Liaquat Ali Khan, the Congress leader in the Central Legislative Assembly and the Muslim deputy leader in the Assembly. Both came up with a proposal of what we call as an interim government concept, an equal number of persons nominated by Congress and League to the central legislation, 20% reserved seats for minorities. However, no settlement will be reached because as it is, League knew that they had the Congress by the neck. And this is why I say that that mistake which he did or what they did was one of the biggest blunders, which is what made the Jinnah or the Muslim League so powerful. It is Lidgo's politics which was making Jinnah so powerful. So simple point of the matter is, by this point of time, it was inevitable that India would get independence. An interim government would have to be formed, but Jinnah was standing in between that concept. Yes, everybody. We have now covered August Cripps and the what is technically the background story of C. Rajagopalachari and the Desai Liaquat Pact 2. Now what I want to do is go to INA. Before I want to do that, I would like to give you a master timeline between 1942 or either 40 to 47. Can I do that? Gandhi and nationalist leaders are still arrested. They're still arrested. As I said, very simple pat. C. Rajagopalachari formula talks about plebiscite. Jinnah will never accept it. Jinnah need not care about independence, but only Pakistan. And Desai Liaquat Pact was the fact that if interim government will be formed, we will nominate equal members. Again, did not materialize. Both are failures in themselves. Okay. In CG formula, provisional autonomy, provincial autonomy was given, but the problem was that he was talking about plebiscite first. Okay. Now, please pay attention. This is the master timeline I'm making. This is going to include independence, and tomorrow I will give you independence. Tomorrow I will give you independence, most probably. Okay. 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944, 1945, June, June 1945. Now we will go into month by month. We will go into month by month. September 1945, November, December 1945, February 1946, May 1946, thereafter July 1946, August 1946, September 1946, October 1946. Then 1947, February, March, May, June, 15th August 1947. Now, let us fill this up. August offer, Ramgarh session. 1941, we already know individual satyagraha. But I will also add one more story which I have to tell you, which is INA formed by Mohan Singh in Malaya. 1942, you have Quit India, Cripps mission. But again, the INA story which we have to discuss. 16,500 men under Mohan Singh and Rash Bihari Bose organizes the India Independence League and Bangkok Conference. Then we have Subhash Chandra Bose reaches Singapore and joins the INA, Azad Hind Fauj and Azad Hind Sarkar. Then 1944, Imphal campaign and failure of INA. And now the whole story changes. June of 1945, we will not have first the, we will have what is called as Wavel conference. We will call what is called as Wavel conference, also called the Shimla conference. Thereafter, September, the Second World War will end. November, INA trials. Thereafter, RIN mutiny. May, cabinet mission. July, interim government after elections. August Direct Action Day of Muslim League. And in this moment, Muslim League boycotted. So in September, we will have INC will form the interim government without Muslim League, and Muslim League will join the interim government. Thereafter, February is basically Clement Attlee Declaration. Independence in June 1948. March, Mountbatten comes to India. March to May is called Ismay Plan and Dickey Bird Plan. June is third June Plan, Mountbatten Plan, Indian independence. Are you now able to see how intricate this story is? After one point, small issues, individual satyagraha and Tilli Chalo movement, same thing. Now, Clement Attlee is a friend of Nehru, yes. So we now need to discuss the INA part of the story. Can we discuss the INA part of the story? Yes. But this is your master timeline basically till independence. Tomorrow what I will do is I will give you one whole master timeline from 1613 till 1947 with major events on it, so that you can revise at any given point of time without any issue. Yes? Come on. 2nd September 1946 is when they will form the interim government. Yes. Okay. Now please listen to the story of the INA. Now, there was a lot of Indians who had been deployed in Southeast Asia by the British. A rough estimate of that is close to 45,000 men. 45,000 men or Indian soldiers had been deployed in Southeast Asia by the British. However, now as soon as the Japanese entered the Southeast Asian, which is Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, as soon as Japanese entered the Southeast Asian sector, the British would leave without Indian soldiers. Basically, these 45,000 men were left to the mercy of the Japanese. Very simply, the Japanese could do anything to these Indians, and the Japanese made all of them more or less prisoners of war. And this is why Gandhi was so scared, because the British were cowards. All officers used to leave. They did not even take one Indian with them. One Indian with them. Now, there will be one officer, very, very important officer called Mohan Singh. He was deployed in Malaysia. And when the Japanese will come to Malaysia, he will again be abandoned by the British. Now, Mohan Singh will say to the Japanese that, aren't we on the same side? Aren't we on the same side? We, the Indians, hate the British. And you also hate the British. So that technically makes us friends. And Mohan Singh said to, and the general who actually created the INA, General Fujiwara, he's the Japanese military general who he contracted. He said to General Fujiwara, you would obviously go for India also. And if it would be good that you have an Indian contingent, because contingent that basically you are going to go to India. So why not have an Indian contingent within the Japanese army? Japanese army. That Indian contingent is there. It knows the terrain. It knows everything. They will help you. Now, General Fujiwara, Mohan Singh, and another important personality, his name was Gyani Pritam Singh, who was there, who was like the mediator in this. And Fujiwara says, okay, it makes sense. You hate the Britisher, we hate the Britisher. And now Mohan Singh, in 1941, he will establish the Indian National Army, the INA, within Japanese control. And basically, this is the genesis of the INA. This is the genesis of the INA. And Mohan Singh, in a way, should be credited for basically saving 45,000 men from death. Because if Mohan Singh had not been able to negotiate this with General Fujiwara, 45,000 men would have been killed by the Japanese in Malaysia itself. So in Malaya, the INA was formed. Anybody has any issue in the formation of the INA? Logical, you are enemy, I am enemy, you will go to India, you need someone to technically go to India with you. So why not have an Indian contingent? So very simply, Mohan Singh gave the logic, enemy of enemy, we have same enemy, so we become friends. And he said, Malaysia or Malaya, basically, you have Mohan Singh. Subhash Chandra Bose is not involved at this point of time. So Mohan Singh is actually the architect of the INA, and he was the one who actually negotiated it with General Fujiwara. And Fujiwara said that, okay, we eventually planned an Indian invasion, and we basically would be getting help from an Indian contingent. Are we clear about 1941? Okay. Because they denied Devansh, but still Indian were there in the soldiers in the British army itself. Sachin, people would say, Bose formed the Azad Hind Sarkar, not the INA. Now, the 1942 movement, 1942, Now, Mohan Singh gave these 45,000 men an option that do you want to leave for India or do you want to fight for your nation? And out of these 45,000, 16,500 men agreed to become the part of INA. And now Mohan Singh formally was a general of INA. And the Japanese did recognize, but the Japanese technically did not like the number because they wanted a smaller number. They only wanted 2,000. This was too big a number. But now Rash Bihari Bose is going to get to know that the INA has been formed. He was sitting in Tokyo. Rash Bihari Bose is now going to basically form the Indian Independence League, and he will land in Bangkok. Out of 45,000, 16,500 only accepted. Others, mostly men and children, that people who had families, they wanted to go back to India and they went. He lands in Bangkok and has what is called the Bangkok Conference. At Bangkok Conference, INA and Indian Independence League are merged. And now Rash Bihari Bose is going to give a call to Subhash Chandra Bose, that please come to Singapore and the INA waits for your leadership. INA waits for your leadership. So the 1942, these 16,500 men are Indians. Why would they be Japanese? It's called the Indian National Army. So the simple point of the matter is that in 1942, it was Rash Bihari Bose who technically linked up the INA with a larger movement, which is called the Indian Independence League, and he calls Subhash Chandra Bose. So 41, Mohan Singh conceives it. 42, 16,500 men accept Mohan Singh's leadership, and Rash Bihari Bose has a Bangkok conference in which the Indian Independence League and INA are merged together, and now they call on to Subhash Chandra Bose. Can we be clear? 1942. Very good. Now we talk about 1943. But our story basically, yes, Azad Hind Fauj is the same as INA. Now in 1943, a very interesting thing happens, which is that since 1941 itself, Subhash Chandra Bose was in house arrest. And what Subhash Chandra Bose does is that he basically now pursues his dream of getting Axis power help to basically make or get Indian independence. So he will disguise himself. He will rather evade the British and go to Karachi. From Karachi, he will go to USSR, where he thought that the USSR is going to help the Indians. However, USSR became an ally of the British. So from USSR, he moved to Germany, and in Germany, he will meet with Hitler. And he will say that again, your enemy is my enemy. Now your enemy is my enemy, and we will, please help me get independence. and I will make India part of the larger Axis movement. Hitler says, and by 1943, he is starting to lose also. But Hitler says that I have heard that the Japanese have formed an INA. I will help you reach Singapore. And Hitler will help him reach Singapore. And finally, in 1943, Singapore, Subhash Chandra Bose will land. And when he will land, the Indian Independence League and the INA will now report to Subhash Chandra Bose, and he will form what is called the Hind Azad Hind Sarkar, a parallel government of India, and Azad Hind Fauj is going to be now the name of this whole concept. In between, when he was in Germany, he also had a radio through which he was broadcasting to India. It is also something which is interesting that when he formed this Azad Hind Fauj, he said that it was technically the army of Gandhi and the army of the people of India. And he said that the day Gandhi and the INC calls us, or the INC generally calls us, we will be ready to fight for Indian independence. But the INA story, for Sarkar means government, Fauj means army. So Indian Independence Government or League, what it was called, and in INA. Now, from here, things will start to go south. Things will start to go south because in 1944, the Japanese will finally think about what we call as an Indian invasion. Now, one of the most untold and unprecedented contributions of Mohan Singh was Mohan Singh technically delayed the Japanese coming to India. And if he had not been part of the INA or he had not created the INA itself, then INA was like a dampener. The Japanese were very poised to come to India, but Mohan Singh said, we will come with you. So Mohan Singh in a way played a very important role in keeping the Japanese eye away from India. And this is one of the most interesting and important contributions of both Rash Bihari Bose, Mohan Singh and Subhash Chandra Bose, which is to hold off the Congress. It is to hold off the Japanese. Because the Japanese technically created the INA, and therefore the Japanese thought that, okay, let the INA come into existence, then we will go to India. And they will choose that in 1944. And in 1944, it is called the Imphal campaign. It's called the Imphal campaign. Now they chose that they want to enter into India via the northeastern sector. But the problem was, you tell me one thing. If you will broadcast to the people of India that we are coming to free India via Imphal, that radio would be listened by whom also? Which other power? The British. And basically, even before the Japanese landed in Imphal, the British technically reinforced the northeastern sector. But what is even more interesting here is that there will be an internal conflict which will develop between the INA and the Japanese. The INA said that we will take 20,000 men to free India, but the Japanese said that we only need 2,000. And when they were camping in Burma, the Japanese ill-treated the Indians. They were treating the Indians like servants. And basically, the INA morale had already been destroyed by the Japanese. The Japanese, being the Japanese, wanted to show Indians their place in this whole concept. And once the Imphal campaign is going to become a failure, the INA will be disbanded. By 44-45, as it is, the Japanese were now going to be bombed by the Americans very soon. Germany was starting to lose this war. The Imphal campaign of the INA, which is to free India via Imphal, now turned out to be a failure. And with it failing, what failed is this vision of getting India independence via mass movement and a armed rebellion or revolt. And now the INA members will get arrested, and this will in turn lead to what is called the INA trials. Can I read this whole story out to you? But you understand the basic contours. By 1945, the INA had now become a victim of the Japanese itself. The idea of the INA was first conceived in Malaya by Mohan Singh, an Indian officer in the British Indian Army. He decided not to join the retreating British Army, instead turned to the Japanese for help. And in the first phase of the development of the INA, what is important is that Major Fujiwara and a religious person called Gyani Pritam Singh, who was technically considered the one who knew Japanese, helped the Captain Singh in setting the INA up. Japanese handed over all Indian POWs to Singh, who tried to recruit them for INA. After the fall of Singapore, Mohan Singh further got 45,000 POWs in his sphere of influence. Khushi, I'll tell you the story, what happens thereafter. INA trials, I will come to that. By the end of 1942, 40,000 men were ready to join the INA. But out of that, only 16,500 were selected. The INA intended to go into action on the invitation of the INC and the people of India. And it was also seen by many a check against the misconduct of the Japanese against Indians in Southeast Asia and a bulwark against a future Japanese occupation of India. With the outbreak of Quit India, INA also got a lot of boost. In September of 1942, the first division of the INA was formed with 16,300 men. With the Japanese contemplating an Indian invasion, the idea of INA seemed more and more relevant. Prisoner of war, POW. In 1942, the same year, the Indian Independence League was formed by Raj Bihari Bose in Tokyo. League met at the Bangkok conference, where Raj Bihari Bose was the president, Mohan Singh the commander of the INA. Subhash Chandra Bose was now invited to lead, but soon a lot of differences also started to develop between Singh and the Japanese over the number of men. Mohan Singh wanted an army of 2 lakh. However, Japanese only wanted 2,000. Others left or quitted. They were basically given the option to go back to India if they wanted to. In January of 1941, Subhash Chandra Bose, meanwhile, who was under house arrest, will escape and go to Russia and try to ask for help against the British. The pseudonym which he technically took was Ziauddin. Ziauddin, he was helped by a person called Bhagat Ram, who will technically help him cross over into Karachi. In 41, Soviet Union is going to become an ally of the British, Bose will go to Germany. He will meet Hitler, pseudonym Orlando Fortaza, and form the Freedom Army. From Dresden, Germany, he will operate a small office, and Jai Hind slogan for Free India Center was for the first time this word was used. With what we use, Jai Hind. This slogan, this cry was for the first time broadcasted from the German office, and it will technically be broadcasted all across India in a way via the underground radios. So the Jai Hind slogan comes from Subhash Chandra Bose himself. Now, why did the Japanese wait for 2 years? Because, Richa, that is the beauty of Mohan Singh. He delayed it because he said, I need more men. You don't have to learn any of this. You just have to understand it. There's no question coming to discuss just have to understand what is happening. Are we all on the same page here? Yes? Okay. On 21st October 1943, he set up a provisional Indian government known as Arze Hukumat Azad Hind or Azad Hind Sarkar with headquarters at Singapore. And this government was even recognized by the Axis powers. Finance Minister was S.C. Chatterjee, MAIR Broadcasting, Lakshmi Swaminathan, Women's Department. The famous slogan, "Give me blood and I will give you freedom," was given from Malaya when he will land. The battalions raised were called Gandhi Battalion, Azad Battalion, Nehru Battalion, Subhash Battalion, and Rani Jhansi Battalion. Axis power is Germany, Italy, and Japan. In November of 1943, Japan handed over the administration of Andaman and Nicobar Islands to him, which he then renamed to Shahid Dweep and Swaraj Dweep, which is now the names of these islands itself. In 1944, the headquarters will be shifted to Rangoon. The war cry, "Chalo Delhi," was given. And April of 1944, Azad Hind Bank was also inaugurated in Rangoon. In 6th July 1944, Bose asked for Gandhi's blessing for India's last war of independence. He was also the first one to call Gandhi the father of the nation and read it over Azad Hind radio. Now, what does this tell you a bit? What does this tell you about Bose and Gandhi? You need to tell me this. Why would Bose still talk about Gandhi? This only tells you that basically there's only respect between the two. Only respect. This is something which is never emphasized, and you need to understand this. That Bose was expelled by Gandhi in a way, but Bose was not that small that he would actually take it to heart. Bose was that person who kept his cool and he still respected Gandhi. This is what you have to become, which is that even after everything, Bose has extreme respect for Gandhi. And this is why he is a towering leader, which can never be matched. Any other person would have technically criticized Gandhi. It is very easy to criticize Gandhi. But this is what Bose is. This is what makes him Bose. Therefore, now the Imphal campaign will start. In INA battalion commanded by Shah Nawaz was allowed to accompany the Japanese army to the Indo-Burma front, participating in the Imphal campaign of the Japanese. But the discriminatory treatment of the Japanese, which included denying rations, arms, and being made to do menial work, demoralized the INA. And the failure of the Imphal campaign and the steady Japanese retreat will in turn lead any hope of the INA liberating the country. And with the war ending by mid-1945, the Japanese will surrender and the INA will also surrender with it. Now comes the question, the last time Bose boarded a plane or we saw him board anything was in August of 1945, and it is believed that he boarded it from Tokyo and it crashed in Taiwan. Till this point, everybody is with me. Are we all clear? Are we all clear about INA? Can now you understand the concept of INA? What is the ebb and flow? The 1941, 42, 43, 44, what happened across that period? I want everybody's consent. This is a very simple concept. Please, you need to fathom 45,000 people collected, 16,500 only selected. Not everybody was ready to fight a war. That is not their problem. That is not our problem. Simply, the INA battalion was created with 16,300 men. Now, when it comes to Netaji's death, INA technically in the larger context did not succeed in what it wanted to do. Now, when it comes to Netaji's death, now we have credible evidence to say that he died in a crash in Taiwan because the plane was found crashed. Now, there were three committees which were established. First, 1956, Shah Nawaz Committee said he died in plane crash. Justice Khosla Committee in 1970 also said the same thing. And then there is Justice Mukherjee Committee in 2005, which said that Bose did not die in a plane crash, but he would have died due to old age. But now you tell me one thing. What do I do with this information in 2005? Obviously, Bose would have died by 2005 if he survived. So basically, these committees just were not able to establish where our Bose went. But Justice Mukherjee commission is even more pointless. Yes, he didn't survive. So tell us where he is or where did he go? No, he did not survive, but we believe that he would have died of old age. Well, that is the given. That is obvious. So the basic point of the matter is that when it comes to Bose's death, we have a lot of mystery. The concept of Gumnami Baba, the concept of Bose did die in the crash. No body was ever found. We don't know what happened to him. There are certain theories which are there, but for our purposes, for UPSC purposes, the plane crashed. We don't even know why. Done, everybody? Come on. Done? Perfect. Very good. When the Japanese surrender, INA surrenders together. Now, in between all of this, now the British planned something big. Now listen to me, please. I am now pivoting. Everybody of the INA has been arrested. 3 major generals have been arrested. Their names etched in history in glorious letters. You have P.K. Sehgal, G.S. Dhillon, and Shah Nawaz Khan. These 3 generals were the 3 basic most important deputies of Bose, and they are now technically under the British. Now the British could have easily tried them and even court-martialed or killed them. Once the Imphal campaign has failed, and Imphal campaign has led to the surrender of the Japanese, and INA also surrenders, and because the British is now starting to win the war itself, Japanese are retreating. If the British wanted, they could have easily taken these 3 generals, tried them and hanged them. Tell me. Yes or no? Yes. But now the British will do a blunder. Blunder is that they wanted to create a spectacle. They wanted to create a spectacle that we will try the INA members, these people who helped the Japanese. The INA is nothing but a brutal organization which was in the hands of in the hands of Hitler and Mussolini. The fascists controlled it. These are traitors. Now they want to create this spectacle called the INA trials, and they will choose that place to be Red Fort. They will choose that place to be Red Fort. That is Red Fort. Why Red Fort? Who did they try beforehand in Red Fort? Very good. Bahadur Shah Zafar. So they wanted to create a spectacle like Bahadur Shah Zafar, like Bhagat Singh, and like them, they wanted to create a spectacle. Red Fort, in between Red Fort trial, G.S. Dhillon, P.K. Sehgal, and Shah Nawaz Khan are sitting there, and the British would say, tuck, 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 we sentence you to death. This was the British plan. But the British forgot that India was different in 1945. This event is going to backfire so hard on the British that the British never ever thought that it could happen. Why? Because once they brought the INA members into India, they were heroes. They didn't represent traitors, they were heroes. And what is ironic about these three generals, PK Sehgal, GS Dhillon, and Shah Nawaz? Tell me, what is the ironical part here with regards to the religion? These three represented three most important religions of India: a Hindu, a Sikh, and a Muslim. And now there will be proper INA based sympathy across India. And now people who had never ever worn their barrister black coats, the INC will form a defense council. Jawaharlal Nehru was going to head that. The Muslim League will form a defense council. The towering leaders, Rajendra Prasad, all were technically lawyers. It was a congress of lawyers. And now these lawyers will say that we will defend these men. We will not let the British hang them. There will be a league of what is called INA week, INA day. And when they will be brought to Red Fort, it will technically be a spectacle. These were three heroes who were being tried by the British. And imagine that the level of exuberance, of enthusiasm of that car which takes them to Red Fort, and no one else but Jawaharlal Nehru here to defend you. So the INA trials was one of the biggest blunders which the British could do, because now India was not the India of 1929 or of 1915 or of 1857. Everybody knew what was happening. Everybody knew the British were the problem, and everybody came together under this concept. And therefore, in the INA trials, all three will get acquitted. They will be court-martialed, but technically they will be acquitted. The British did not have the guts to technically hang them. Literally did not have the guts to hang them. Even more than that, there will be multiple instances in which different officers will be actually acquitted. Acquitted meaning they will be not found guilty. And more than that, whenever there were these kinds of major moments, the police tried to show a little. Usha, as I said, acquitted means they are not found guilty. Whenever the British will try to show a little bit of resistance, there were clashes between the police and the people. 3 instances of proper clashes were there. But the INA trials now showed to the British one thing, that now India was very hard to hold. But once I'm done with this, I want to discuss the RIN mutiny with you. And together they represent a very important set of events. Can I tell you the details of INA? Do you understand the importance of INA? Details, I'll add to it, but you understand the importance of INA. Perfect. I hope you can understand. We are slowly but surely progressing towards independence. These are small indications that India was changing and India was becoming a new sovereign nation. So, held in November, December of 1945 and January of 1946, Major General Shah Nawaz Khan, Colonel Prem Kumar Sehgal, Colonel Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon were tried, or what is called, they will be tried in the backdrop of what we call as Red Fort. The trial was to be held in the backdrop of general elections, which was going to be held with Attorney General of India, Noverveen P. Engineer, as the chief prosecutor. They were accused by what is called as treason. They were accused or were charged with waging war against the king. They were sentenced to death under pressure of the political parties of India. Army Chief Claude Onclec was forced to commute the sentences of the 3 defenders in the first trial. The defense of the INA prisoners was taken by the Congress and Bhulabhai Desai, K.N. Kadju, Nehru, Asaf Ali, who appeared in court. 24 counsels for the defense were led by Tej Bahadur Sapru himself. The Congress organized an INA relief and inquiry committee, which provided small sums of money and food to the men on their release and attempted to bring them basically or secure employment and rehabilitate them. Congress organized the Central INA Fund Committee, the Mayor's Fund in Bombay, the AICC, the All India Congress Committee, the provincial PCCs, all collected funds for the INA. These were heroes. Muslim League, Communist Party of India, Unionist Party, Akali, Justice League, the RSS, Hindu Mahasabha, Sikh League, all supported the INA in different varying degrees. Viceroy is noted, and this is Viceroy now is Wavel, noted that all parties have taken the same line, though Congress is more ferocious than others. The agitation got public support, extensively press coverage, or were very extensively covered by the press with daily editorials, distribution of pamphlets, threats of revenge, and graffiti with similar message all across the places. And the INA Day will be celebrated on 12th November 1945 and the INA Week between 5 to 11 of 1945. In between all this, there will also be what are called the three upsurges. On 2nd, 21st November 1945, Calcutta proper clashes. On 11th February 1946, Calcutta again 7-year sentence was given to Rashid Ali, proper clashes. And thereafter, it will be a major blunder, or what we call as the RIN mutiny, which will change everything. I'll discuss RIN first and then come back to Wavel. That is the last point. Now, are you able to understand what is the INA? I'll give you a summary in the end, don't worry. Jinnah did participate in the trials, but he was still obsessed with Pakistan. He has now become a man who just Pakistan, Pakistan. Now listen to me. Simple point. INA formed in 1941, Mohan Singh. 42, Raj Bihari Bose Mohan Singh. 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose. 1944, Imphal campaign. 1945, INA trials. These are the four things. When I give you the summary of the class, we'll discuss it again. I hope this pace is good, the basic understanding is good, and what we are doing, which I'm giving you the story, and then we go into the nitty-gritty is working. Yes? These are very small events. One paragraph in pages or in different books. We are just trying to consolidate everything. Yes? Okay. Now, what is called the RIN mutiny happens. And this is considered the biggest shock to the British. Biggest shock. Whilst INA was a blunder event by the British, blunder event for the British. On the other hand, the RIN mutiny was considered to be a moment in which now the British realized that basically India was now lost. First and foremost, it is not a washing powder, so don't call it RIN. It is not RIN. It is RIN, Royal Indian Navy. So let us respect this mutiny by not calling it a washing soap, RIN. It is RIN, mutiny, Royal Indian Navy mutiny. Now, what is the context of RIN? RIN, basically, there was one ship which is called the HMIS Talwar, Her Majesty's Indian Sailors, HMIS, and sometimes also called HMIN, which is Her Majesty, because basically it's Her Majesty Queen, and Indian Sailors. And basically there were three wings to India, which is called the Royal Air Force. So it was called Royal Indian Air Force. The word Indian can be added here. Then you have the Royal Army, RIA, Royal Indian Army. And then you have the RIN, the Royal Indian Navy. And each of these ships, how we have different, we have classes today: INS Vikramaditya, INS Khanderi. So we write Indian Navy. So that ways HMIS, which is Her Majesty's Indian Sailors Talwar. Talwar was the name of the ship. Now on Talwar, this ship had been deployed previously to Singapore, to Africa, to Aden, and basically the sailors had become extremely frustrated. Discrimination, long hours of work, British giving them meager pay, fully frustrated. Now, when the HMIS Talwar was actually docked at Bombay, there will be an incident in which the British officer is going to beat up a Indian sailor. Racism, British know no better. And now the HMIS Talwar is going to mutiny. Sailors will go into revolt. The sailors will go into revolt. Everybody is going to revolt on the ship. And what is even more problematic is, as soon as HMIS Talwar rebels, this is going to spread like wildfire in Bombay, in Visakhapatnam, in Calcutta, in Madras. There will be close to 33 ships at one point of time which were mutinying. Mutinying means they said we will not listen to the British itself. And why is RIN considered the last nail in the coffin? Because now the British can't trust the British. The British can't trust the army. Who shot the people at Jallianwala Bagh? Who shot the people at Jallianwala Bagh? The army. Who took back Delhi? DFF, the army. Every time the Indian soldier was now ready to shoot on an Indian, but now he wasn't. Now that Indian is not ready to shoot on an Indian, RIN mutiny takes away the trust of the British, that can they even trust their own military in India. And that is why basically the three pillars of British rule in India, the army, the bureaucracy, and the larger imperial structure, one pillar is knocked out. RIN basically made everybody lose their mind. British shocked. And hereafter, now it was clear by 1946 February that Indian independence was coming, because British can't do anything. They can't trust the army itself. And what is more ironic is, and which is not something which is told a lot in standard books, the British could not trust the Indian civil services also. Because when in 1924, the ratio of Indian civil servants, Indian to European, was 30-60. By 1946, that ratio was 55-45. There were more Indians in the bureaucracy than actually the British. Ask an Indian to clear the UPSC examination. We will do anything. So the Central Public Service Commission is going to come into existence, and Indians will flood the examination. And by the 1946 period, this is a very important point I'm trying to make here, is that it's not that the British one random they woke up and said, okay, let's give India independence. There is this progressive knocking of all the basic pins which we created. I showed you an image in the beginning of the classes. Looks like an eternity now, but I showed you that concept. Mughal decline, British expansion. Thereafter, after British expansion, the consolidation of the British. The pillars: social control, political exploitation, judiciary, army, police. Now, all of these pins are going to fall. And basically, the RIN mutiny was the last pin or the last nail in the coffin, because the British can't basically help it, but they will now have nightmares. They will have nightmares. Indian, English. You get the importance of this event, then I give you the details. Because thereafter, we go to the last issue, which is Wavel conference. Yes? Great. So RIN, Royal Indian Navy, mutinied in Bombay. It's called the Bombay Mutiny. Encompassed a total strike and subsequent revolt of Indian sailors of the Indian Navy on board ships and establishments on the Bombay harbor. The initial flashpoint was Bombay. The revolt spread and found support throughout British India, then Karachi, then Calcutta. And its highest point, 78 ships, 220 shore establishments, which is the docks, and 20,000 sailors were at mutiny. On February 18th, 1946, 1100 Royal Indian Navy ratings of the HMIS Talwar went on strike to protest against racial discrimination, equal pay as white soldiers, unpalpable food, really bad food for the Indians, abuse by superior officers, arrest of a rating for scrolling "Quit India" on the HMIS Talwar. So he just went and wrote "Quit India" on one part of the ship itself. INA trials itself will make them even more radical, and the use of the Indian ships in Indonesia demanded their withdrawal. The last time we saw a mutiny, it was 1857, and now we have a mutiny in 1946. The rebellion ratings hoisted the tricolor, the crescent, and the hammer and sickle flag. So basically, the INC flag, the Muslim League flag, and the Communist Party flag. Other ratings joined very quickly, and lorries of people and soldiers were now moving around in Bombay along with the policemen. Crowds brought these ratings food. Shopkeepers invited them to take whatever they needed. While the students boycotted classes, organized hartals and processions in sympathy of these ratings, there were sympathetic strikes in military establishments in Karachi, Madras, Visakhapatnam, Calcutta, Kochi, Jamnagar, Andamans, Bahrain, Aden. Later, the Royal Indian Air Force in Bombay, Pune, Calcutta, Jessore, and Ambala will join. However, this is going to end with Patel and Jinnah's intervention. Can I tell you how the RIN mutiny was stopped? Ratings means the sailors. In a way, Shiva. Now, what happened was that as soon as the INC and Muslim League get to know that the INA, the RIN mutinied, or the Royal Indian Navy has mutinied, now basically Patel said that we can't let the army take over because it will become a coup. And the British, may be on the pretext of crushing this mutiny like 1857, may prolong their stay in India. So what happens is Jinnah and Patel, actually unlikeliest of members, went together to negotiate with the RIN mutineer, the Talwar mutineers, and they said that we will get your grievances sorted, but you need to stop. Because Vallabhbhai Patel understood, and Jinnah in a way also understood, that they can't let the army take over, because then it's not independence. Then we want democracy. We don't want military generals now technically capturing power. That is too dangerous. So please understand this point, that RIN mutiny was a dangerous moment and a technically taking away the eyes of the British in a way. But Patel and Nehru knew that we can't let the British use this as a pretext to not give us independence, or let this go out of hand. Because military rule is also something not good. Military rule is also something not good, which Patel understood. And that is why the RIN mutiny will be stopped by the nationalist leaders themselves. They will stop the RIN mutiny by late February 1946. RIN done. Then a very small discussion on Wavel, and now we will stop for today once we have understanding of Wavel. Can we discuss Wavel conference? We'll stop in 1946, and then tomorrow we pick up at 1947, miscellaneous topics, and your course is over. We do previous year questions also tomorrow. Okay. Now, in between all this drama, there's also something called the Wavel conference which happened. what is called the Wavel plan. This is basically June of 1945. See, in early 1945, Linlithgow was recalled, and Wavel was the second last viceroy. And he had been sent by Churchill to find a solution. Last is Mountbatten, yes. After him, Mountbatten. Now, how was Wavel? Wavel was a fool. If you actually ask me, he's the biggest fool of them all. Now, Churchill sends him to work out something. And this is called the Shimla Conference or Wavel Plan. Now, basically, why is Wavel a fool? See, Wavel technically did not have the guts to do what he needed to do, but Wavel plan was very simple. He said that in June of 1945, with the war coming to an end and Churchill trying to still do a drama that I am still good, I will do good to the Indians. Wavel said that we will introduce, or we will rather create a system in which before the war, the Executive Council will be reconstructed. And once it is reconstructed, this Executive Council we will accept as interim government, for which we will give the independence. We will give independence or transfer of power. Wavel is the new viceroy. Transfer power to. So this was a very important moment because they are now talking about transfer of power. And the concept was that the Executive Council of the Viceroy was going to be reconstructed and that would be given power later. However, this was the basic plan. The plan was that now there will be the Viceroy. Please pay attention here. Everybody, please pay attention. The concept was that now there will be a Viceroy. And the Viceroy, therefore, will have 3 set of members. 5, 5, and 5. 5 members who represent what is called, represents Hindus. 5 members who represent Muslims, and 5 members who will represent other minorities. And what Wavel said was that all parties should nominate these members. Now, it's an interesting system, but there's a problem for Muslim League and Jinnah. See, any day, the point was that this reconstructed Executive Council would become the interim government to which it was never implemented. I will tell you, don't worry. The concept was that these three will basically be the new interim government, which will be transferred power. So it is a very important moment. Now, tell me which party is going to dominate these 5 members? Very good. So these 5 members, the INC will send. Now, Jinnah used his mind. थोड़ा दिमाग लगाया उसने. And he was able to see that the INC can nominate these 5 members also, and the INC can nominate these 5 members also. The INC can send one Sikh, one woman, one depressed class, Dr. Ambedkar will go, and thereafter 2 more they will send. INC can basically get 2/3 majority, and the Muslim League could only send 5 members. So out of the 15, 10 could become INC members. So who dominates the Executive Council? The INC. Now, why do I call Wavel a fool? I'll tell you. Because Jinha will now create a demand. And Jinha's demand was, I will nominate these 5 members and I will also nominate the other 5 members. He said basically, the INC should not be able to nominate more than 5 members in the Hindu category. Muslim League said that we will nominate the 5 members of the Muslims and we should also have a say in the other 5. The INC, straightforward what Jinnah was saying, the INC should only be able to nominate 5. But INC said, we are not a Hindu party. You are a Muslim party. We are not a Hindu party. We represent India. And whenever there used to be a negotiation in which Jinnah used to say, we only represent the Muslims, we only represent the Muslims, INC used to send Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. Fight it out. You are the only Muslim in the room. That can't be true. So now there's a deadlock. There's a deadlock. Basically, Jinnah was not ready to allow this conference to go forward or plan to go forward until he is given a surety that he will nominate all of the 5 and INC will only nominate 5. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was member of INC. Now, till this point, you understand the dynamics here. INC arguing we are not a Hindu party. You are a Muslim party. We should have the right to nominate everybody. You nominate your 5. It's all about who will have control of the Executive Council. Now, why do I call Jinnah or Wavel a fool? Is because what should have Wavel done? If one party is blocking this whole concept, what should have Wavel done? Wavel should have easily rejected Jinnah or ignored Jinnah. You cry in the corner. You cry. You want to cry, you cry. But what happens is, as soon as Jinnah walks out of the conference, this fool called Wavel dissolves the whole conference itself. Now, basically, Jinnah, a egomaniac, now gets to know, if I walk off, I can destroy independence. So basically, Wavel now simply sends a message in a way to Jinnah that if you are not on the negotiating table, Indian independence cannot happen. And that was technically not true. And basically, why the Wavel conference is considered the sealing of partition in India is because now Jinnah can ask for anything, and that is the only way forward. See, a lot of students ask me, a lot of questions are asked, that why is that INC accepted partition? Why is that partition was inevitable? Can't you see one thing, that the British are too spellbound by Jinnah? The British will not give us independence if they don't give Muslim League Pakistan. And this is why Indian independence now became more or less clear that it will come with partition. And that is why the Wavel conference is considered as a major turning point in communalism in India, because now Jinnah technically had the power to walk off and also destroy the conference. Are you getting my point? Why Wavel conference is important? Yes, they are ridiculous. There are much better words to call the Britishers. I can't use them here, but sure, ridiculous. Okay. Although war in Europe came to an end in May of 1945, more or less, Japanese threat still remained. The conservative government in Britain was keen to reach a solution on the constitutional question in India. Lord Archibald Wavel was permitted to start negotiations with the Indian leaders, who are now released from the jail. When did they get arrested? When did they get arrested? Since 3 years they were in jail. And there are images, and I'll try to show you them tomorrow if possible. The Indian national leaders were not even able to stand straight. Hard, very heavy jail, or what is called imprisonment. So for 3 years, all of them, since quit India, they were in jail. Now, why was Churchill trying to find a solution? The general election was coming in England in mid 1945. Conservative wants to show to the people that we are also, I'll bring Bipin Chandra, don't worry. We are also trying to bring a solution. There was pressure on the allies to seek further Indian cooperation in the war. Government wanted to divert Indian energies into channels more profitable to the British. And basically, again, Churchill is doing a drama. Last drama of Churchill. The idea was to reconstruct the Governor General's Executive Council pending the preparation of the new constitution. For the purpose, Wavel will call a conference in June of 1945. The main proposal was dominion status to India, that is standard. With the exception of the Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief, all members of the Executive Councils were going to be Indians. Caste Hindus and Muslims were to have equal representation. Head of the government would be 5 ministers who were Hindus, 5 who were Muslims, and 5 who were others, basically 15 members total. The reconstruction of this council reconstructed council was to function like an interim government within the framework of the 1935 Government of India Act. Governor General was to exercise veto in advice of the ministers. Representatives of different parties were to submit a joint list of the viceroys for the viceroy's nomination. If the joint list was not possible, a separate list should be submitted. Possibilities were to be kept open for negotiation on new constitution once the war was finally won. Process of forming of constitution will start in India. League wanted all Muslim members of the League nominees, but it feared that since the aim of the other minorities, depressed classes, Sikh, Christians, were the same as those of the Congress or this arrangement would reduce the League to 1/3 majority, or rather 1/3 minority. League claimed that some kind of veto should be given in the council so that the Muslims could block anything which the other 10 do, and they wanted at least 2/3 majority for approval. So basically he said that give us a veto and give us the right to nominate the other 5 also, and any decision can only be taken with 2/3. So basically they were trying to create an executive council which would technically not even make sense. On the other hand, Congress objected to the plan. They said that the Congress does not represent as a purely caste Hindu party, insisted on the right to include members in all communities. What is Wavel's mistake and the blunder which he will do? Wavel announced a breakdown of talks, thus giving the League a virtual veto. This strengthened the League's position, and it became evident that once the cabinet mission is going to come, Jinnah's position had been boosted. And this exposed the real character of the conservative Churchill regime. Right? And we have already done the RIN mutiny. Now, can I stop here and give you a basic overview of what is going to happen now? Veto means that you can a vote which can deny any other vote. First, you need to tell me everything made sense. Everyone? Shivam, because they had to technically represent their own council or their own constituency. Yes, very good. See, now we have reached 1945, 46 rather, February of 1946. Tomorrow I'll talk about, technically we've done the most important phase. We started, and I'm giving you a summary here. We started with August offer, the concept of dominion within the Commonwealth, and the concept of mainly Indian Constituent Assembly, to the individual satyagraha, to the Cripps mission, dominion outside or with the option of leaving the Commonwealth, and representative, what is called proportional representations of provinces. They are nominated from princely states. But the partition clause, which is that if any province wanted, it could leave. Then once we did that, we moved to the Quit India movement, a very interesting movement, which is the culmination of all processes which we saw throughout 1915 itself. We saw the parallel governments, we saw the underground movement, we saw new leadership, we saw governmental repression. Then we talked about the INA. When we talked about the INA, 1941, the formation under Mohan Singh, Japanese cooperation. 42, Raj Bihari Bose coming through, the Indian Independence League, Bangkok Conference. 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose joining. 1944, you can go, Hussain. 1944, the concept of Imphal campaign and the INA gets disbanded. 45, INA trials, they become heroes and the spectacle is created. Then we did the RIN mutiny, which is the other important movement which shaked the British, which is the mutiny of the army. The British can't trust the army and the navy itself. And what we've done right now basically is the Wavel conference. Wavel conference, its breakdown basically summarizes everything what we're trying to do here, which is that in 1936, Jinnah was zero. But he is now in 1946, that man, if he walks off a conference, the conference fails. This is the politics of Lilithgo. This is the politics of communalism in India. In India, Jinnah was never represented by Muslims. Muslims never represented Jinnah, and Jinnah never was actually very popular within the Muslim community itself. But it is Lilithgo's push for Jinnah and Muslim League that basically they become so important that they can ask for Pakistan, and Pakistan's demand now becomes a condition for Indian independence. So now when we meet tomorrow, we will talk about cabinet mission. Cabinet mission will be the first genuine attempt which will be created for India to be created, because now Clement Attlee, a Labour government, will going to win in Britain. Clement Attlee is going to send again a proper mission to find a solution. But the cabinet mission, as much as it actually ridiculed Jinnah, was also a dangerous body, because though the elections will happen and the interim government is also formed under cabinet mission had two major flawed concepts which were too dangerous for India. Basically, the cabinet mission was giving bomb to India in their hands, and there were two major clauses which were problematic, which we'll discuss tomorrow. Once we are done with that, we'll discuss how then the February revolution, the February declaration is going to come in 1947. Interim government will be formed. They will do drama. Muslim League will do drama, not join, but later join. Then Attlee's declaration that June of 1948 you will get independence. They were going to give us independence in June of 1948. However, between March and May, too many riots will start to happen. Two fools called Dicky Bird and Ismay are going to try to work out how to give India independence, and their plan was technically to give each and every province independence. That is absurd. Nehru said that you were drunk when you were making this plan. And on 3rd June, Mountbatten plan will come into existence, which is called the Radcliffe Line. and India will get independence on 15th August 1947. And that is the story for tomorrow. But once we're done with that story, I will also go into first depressed classes. Dr. Ambedkar will discuss Vycom Satyagraha, Temple Entry Movement. We'll do a small section on police reforms, the Inslington Committee, the Atchison Committee, the AIL as they're called, Atchison, Inslington, Lee. We'll also discuss press laws. We'll also discuss press laws. Tomorrow is the last class. Press laws, I will tell you what to do with it. And last but not the least, we will discuss certain miscellaneous topics related to paramountcy. I will give you two major lists tomorrow. First, I will ask the team to upload. The Viceroy's list along with their contribution. And second, I will ask the team to upload all INC sessions which are important and their presidents. So I will give that to you in PDF form so that you can just print it. It would be like a Word file. You will just print it and keep it with you. I'll give you the master timeline and we'll do previous year questions. I will comprehensively show you what we've covered in Bipin Chandra, and I will close this topic tomorrow to start post-independence day after tomorrow. So our journey has been quite long. Finally, our last task, we will meet on Friday, then Saturday, and then Monday. And with me, the last class is going to be, we'll do pre and mains both. Last class is going to be on Monday. You get independence from me on Monday, but we will give India independence tomorrow for sure. Right? Thank you. Take care. Have a very, very, very good day tomorrow. I'll see you in the evening again. Yes, RIN mutiny, there was no women because RIN sailors can't be women. INA, there were a lot of women. What happened first, Wavel or INA? Wavel first, then INA. Shiva. I will tell you, Suma, what to do with books. Don't worry, I'll give you a strategy. It's not my last class with you tomorrow. I will till Monday keep on telling you what to do with the given information. Yes, Abhinav, at one point of time, yes. Rajagopalachari formula, a moment in 1944 where they were trying to figure out, once Wavel conference was being planned, they were trying to figure out some way to find a solution to the Pakistan problem. Yes, August offer Cripps mission if you want them as carrots, why not? Attlee was friend of Renu, yes. 5 members from Hindu, 5 members from Hindu, 5 members from Muslim, 5 members from other minorities, Executive Council, Central Executive Council. Waiver plan, Chaluvadi, as I said, whole concept, reconstruct the Executive Council, 555, but the concept, it broke down, it never got implemented because 555, Muslim, Hindu, and other minorities, Muslim League wanted to control both 10 members, not 5. I will give you the over chronological order, Vamsi. Don't worry. I love timelines. You know that. I will give you a timeline. Don't worry about that. I will discuss first thing I will do with this timeline only. Okay. Yashovarman, that is the irony of this whole story. Yes, I will discuss. There's a question which came. If Gandhi was not there, what would have happened? We'll discuss that. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.